Welcome back. Let's take a look at some economic news. As government is celebrating the 5th anniversary of the launch of the National Development Plan for our economy, there are mixed reactions about its successes and failures. The government's all-encompassing long-term plan's objectives are to drastically eradicate poverty and to reduce inequality and unemployment by 2030.
Today marks exactly 5 years since the adoption of the National Development Plan, which was hailed as a panacea to deal with our socio-economic woes. But since then, 8 million South Africans, mainly the youth and women, are unemployed. And at least according to Stats SA, poverty and inequality are on the rise. And the question is not whether the plan is or can achieve its intended goals or not, but rather whether the government is capable of implementing it.
There is implementation of the NDP. As we've always indicated, in 2014, government approved the first 5-year implementation program of the NDP called the Medium-Term Strategic Framework. It has 14 outcomes. Each outcome, there is a minister that is responsible for a cluster of ministers. And all those ministers sign performance agreements with the president. We monitor the performance on of the NDP and the MTSF on a quarterly basis, and we report to cabinet on that, and we also post this on our website as the DPME.
Economists point to the country's toxic political environment as a distraction towards the implementation of the NDP.
But I think the NDP has also been overshadowed by what's been happening politically in South Africa. The issues around corruption, the issues around poor service delivery, the issues around state capture allegations. The NDP has very much been overshadowed with that, together with an economy that has been performing at a suboptimal level. At the same time, the NDP has been the one thing that have given people in South Africa, but also onlookers in the international community, hope that there is in fact a framework for policy coordination and policy implementation in this country that is above political interference and that enjoys broad political support.
Last week, even President Zuma expressed dissatisfaction about its implementation. He suggested that more can still be done to realize its goals.
The NDP envisages that the combined investment by the private and public sectors rise from the current levels of around 19% of GDP to 30% of GDP by 2030. This endeavor requires a concerted effort from government across the spheres, the private sector and organized labor. From our part, as government, we have established an interministerial committee on investment comprising of 18 cabinet ministers to oversee our overall investment policy, coordination and alignment, including the investment climate and marketing of South Africa as an investment destination.
But Khatebe refutes suggestion that differences within the executive are affecting the smooth running of government and, to an extent, the realization of the goals as envisaged by the NDP.
Ministers are implementing their departments on a daily basis. So the differences that you are talking about have no impact in the performance of departments. That is why I'm saying that the midterm review document, when it is released, you'll be able to see it.
Today, President Zuma will be leading the 5th anniversary celebrations of the plan in Cape Town. The theme of today's event is NDP 2030, One Plan, One Country. Together we move South Africa forward. Manilis Tubase, SABC News, Cape Town.